What's up, Green Bay Packers fans? Welcome back. As always, thank you for joining me. My name's Paul Brettel. Today we're here to continue on with my free agency prediction series, taking a look at center Josh Myers. Why the Packers will resign him, why they won't, and then a prediction at the end. Before we dive into all that, you know what to do. Hit like on the video, hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. I do greatly appreciate it. Follow me on Twitter at Paul_Brettel. Find all my work over at ESPNlacrosse.com. Got a couple good articles up there right now for you to check out, and download the 105.5 ESPN Lacrosse app. Packers, Brewers, Bucks, Badgers radio, whatever you need throughout the week. So like I said, been going through this prediction series both here on the YouTube channel as well as over at ESPNlacrosse.com, and it's my intention, what I'm hoping to accomplish with these is to best put ourselves in the shoes of Brian Gutekunst, so the Packers decision makers, in terms of evaluating, all right, if they're going to bring this player back and re-sign them, why? What stands out? What would make them do so? On the flip side, if they're going to let that player walk, go play elsewhere in free agency, what are the reasons behind that? And then, of course, we make our prediction at the end. So let's start with why would the Green Bay Packers re-sign center Josh Myers? Brian Gutekunst said after the season, during his end-of-season press conference, that he thought Josh Myers is coming off of his best season as a pro. And according to some of the Pro Football Focus metrics out there, after giving up a combined 8 sacks between the 2022 and the 2023 seasons, Myers only gave up 1 this past season in 2024. When it came to Josh Jacobs, the Packers' run game, according to Pro Football Focus metrics, when Josh Jacobs was running either to the direct left or the direct right of Josh Myers, he averaged 4.3 yards per rush this season. Ultimately, how a player performs when the ball is snapped as the play is unfolding is what matters most, right? Obvious statement to make. But where Myers also stood out, and some other important factors that come with playing the center position, is what happens before the ball is snapped. And again, if you look at, and we'll get into it here in a minute, but if you look at pressures allowed, pass rush win rate, pass block win rate for Josh Myers, his run blocking grade from Pro Football Focus, he's not going to leap off the stat sheet. He's not going to leap off the page in that regard and be ranked among the best centers in football in that aspect. But an important part, again, of playing the center position is what happens before the ball is snapped. Very, very important part of that position group. And Josh Myers, in the middle of the Packers' offensive line, on the offense as a whole, the team as a whole, he's provided a stabilizing presence in the middle of that group. During last season, when Josh Myers, I believe he missed a game around the middle portion of the season, Matt LaFleur spoke incredibly highly of Josh Myers and just what he brings to this Packers team. Some of the ways he described him was the driver of the ship at that center position. Called him a heart and soul type of player on this Packers team. Again, incredibly high praise for Josh Myers and what he adds to this Packers team. And he's a leader on this Green Bay Packers team, not just in the offensive line room, but in the offense and on this Packers team as a whole. Again, those qualities off the field, on the field, pre-snap, what he brings just all around as a player, person, not always easily replaceable, right? So if you have that player in-house, in building, it's a reason to consider bringing him back. One of the reasons, right? And again, there's a lot that goes into playing the center position. There's, before the snap takes place, there's identifying the defensive personnel, the alignments. There's any adjustments that you have to make based on the defensive adjustments or how they come out of the huddle based on what your predictions are, and then communicating that to the offensive line, the tight ends, the running backs, so everyone is on the same page from a blocking standpoint, a blocking perspective, and everyone's working as one in that regard. It only takes a mix-up there in that regard of whether it's the communication component, the identification of it, whatever it might be. It just takes a mix-up, a miscommunication, a misstep, not identifying something properly, and the play that you've got called already has a really, really difficult chance of working out before the ball's even snapped. So again, there's a lot that goes into playing the center position. There's a lot on that player's plate, and something we've also heard Brian Gutekunst mention when discussing Josh Myers, just the rapport that he has with Jordan Love that's at that center quarterback position. In addition to all that, Josh Myers has been extremely durable, available throughout his career. That availability, that reliability, obviously key elements to a position group, the offensive line, where continuity very, very much matters. Offensive line play, it's the sum of the parts are greater than any one individual. You can have an all-pro right tackle, but if the left side of your offensive line is struggling, then your offensive line group as a whole is probably going to struggle overall, or at least be average at best, because again, the defense can hone in. So having that durability, that availability, that reliability, all important aspects that Josh Myers does bring to the table. And one other thing that Brian Gutekunst said, again, they speak so highly of him, is Brian Gutekunst said he's really, really glad that they've had Josh Myers over the last 4 years on this team. All right, so now why won't the Green Bay Packers re-sign Josh Myers? Again, I do think all those qualities that we just described absolutely matter when it comes to playing the center position. But again, as we said at the start of all this, as we already know, ultimately your pay, whether you stay, whether you go, is going to be determined by how are you performing when the ball snapped? How are you performing on the football field on Sundays? It's ultimately the ultimate. All those other factors come into play and can be a part of the decision-making process. But how you perform when the ball snaps is going to carry the most weight when these decisions are made. And while Brian Gutekunst believes that this was Josh Myers' best season in the NFL, some metrics still, again, I said he wasn't going to leap off the page, showcase someone who didn't rank all that well compared to the rest of his position group. Pro Football Focus has their pass blocking efficiency metric. Right? How often are you allowing pressures relative to how many pass blocking snaps do you have? Out of 41 eligible centers last season, Josh Myers ranked 36. Gave up the third most quarterback pressures among the center position in all of football last year, and he ranked 38th in PFF's run blocking grade. Now again, this is one metric, one evaluation tool, not the be-all, end-all. And there's obviously a big discrepancy in these results compared to saying this is, the best season they've seen from Josh Myers on the football field. But I think the value of at least highlighting and being mindful of these metrics is it shows relative to the center position how Josh Myers fared last season, again, compared to the rest of his position group. I do think that the Packers would like to have Josh Myers back for all the reasons that we mentioned. I do think that they would, if you could wave a magic wand and have that happen where all the right circumstances take place for that to be a realistic possibility, I do think the Packers would like to have him on the roster. However, I think this is going to be one of those like we saw last offseason with Jon Runyan, where it's going to be Packers have their line in the sand. They're not going to go over it. Jon Runyan went out, tested the market, ended up getting, I think, $10 million per year on a contract from the New York Giants. That was more than the Packers were going to be willing to pay him. He ended up going and playing for the New York Giants. I just get the sense that there's going to be a similar situation that unfolds this offseason with Josh Myers, where the Packers have their number. They're not going to go above it. And I think Josh Myers is going to get probably more than what the Packers are willing to pay out on the open market. Now, ESPN's Rob Demovsky, in one of his articles, reported that Myers could get at least $10 million per year. And again, that feels on the high side compared to what the Green Bay Packers might be willing to pay. And when it comes to this center class as a whole, free agency-wise, not exactly a position group with a ton of depth. So you have Myers' experience, you have his age, just coming off of his rookie deal, and that's a recipe there where some team, and it only takes one, I bet you there's more than one, are going to be interested, and that's going to result in a decent-sized payday for him. That's going to be outside of the range that the Packers are willing to go. All right, prediction time. I think Josh Myers ends up playing elsewhere in 2025. I was first asked this question during the middle of last season, so about 6 months ago now from where we are at this time, 5-6 months ago. And I've really gone back and forth on this. Perhaps I'm putting too much value into the stuff that I mentioned originally, the reasons why we'd want to sign him. I just really think they think very highly of how he performs pre-snap. And again, I know I'm a little repetitive in this regard, but I think that's really, really important. However, I think he's going to end up playing elsewhere, and there's three main reasons for that. One, 4 years with the Packers of just some up and down play, right? Josh Myers has certainly had his moments, but overall, I think the collective play that we've seen from him, passing game, running game, has been up and down. It's been inconsistent at time. As mentioned, I think the payday. I think he's going to get a decent-sized contract on the free agent market. I think some team's going to be willing to pay him, that $10 million plus per year, and I think that's just more than what the Green Bay Packers are going to be willing to do. Lastly, if Josh Myers does end up going elsewhere, the Packers have options on the roster already to fill in that center role. Elton Jenkins could slide over. I've mentioned Sean Ryan before as an option. He took snaps at center during training camp last summer. Jacob Monk, who they drafted last offseason, played center at Duke. So right there, you have 3 options already on your roster, not including if the Packers go out and draft someone to provide depth to compete for that starting position as well. So based on how they've gone about it in previous off seasons, emphasizing versatility, giving players the opportunity to play multiple positions, drafting Jacob Monk, they are positioned roster-wise to where they can absorb this, and they already have multiple options already on the roster to take over for Josh Myers if he does going elsewhere. So those are really the 3 big reasons behind the decision why I think Josh Myers is going to end up playing elsewhere next season. So there you have it, my friends. As always, I greatly appreciate you tuning in. And if you've made it this far in the video, you might as well hit like, you might as well hit subscribe on the channel. Again, I do greatly appreciate it. Follow me on Twitter at Paul_Brettel. Find all my work, ESPNLacrosse.com, and download the 1055 ESPN Lacrosse app. Till next time, friends, take care.